This story revolves around a smart and talented young woman named Lynn, who has achieved countless accomplishments. One day, Lynn was accompanied by her father to apply to Exton Pacific, a prestigious university with a hefty annual tuition fee. At first, Lynn hesitated to enroll, considering her family's unstable financial situation. She clearly explained her reasoning by calculating the specific cost of living for a full year, which left the university's dean deeply impressed. As a result, Lynn was awarded a scholarship on the spot. It was revealed that Lynn lived with her father after her mother passed away. Her father, who carried the love of his late wife for Lynn, dedicated himself to securing her future. He was even willing to live modestly as long as Lynn could receive a proper education and succeed in life. For her father, Lynn's brighter future was more important than her personal dreams. Because of this, Lynn decided to put her aspiration of becoming a renowned pianist on hold until her father fully understood her wishes. In her quiet moments, Lynn, who was a gifted mathematician, often expressed her thoughts in complex yet meaningful words. Once, she described a child spending 462 hours a year on activities that were said to secure their future. However, this time was once spent practicing piano with the child's mother. The child felt the freest when variable X equaled the pressure to please everyone, worsened by the isolation of having no time for friends. At that moment, Lynn wondered how likely it was for that child to eventually falter and lose the fruits of their hard work. During her first year, while taking pictures for the yearbook, Lynn was approached by a woman named Grace, a student ambassador for Exton. Grace was assigned to guide Lynn as a VIP student. When someone insulted Lynn for her modest background, Grace quickly stood up for her. As an ambassador, Grace felt it was her duty to protect Lynn from any demeaning behavior. After resolving the issue with the rude individual, Grace persuaded Lynn to become her private tutor. Grace needed to maintain a GPA of at least 3.0, as failing to do so would prevent her parents from allowing her to audition to become an artist, a lifelong dream of hers. Initially, Lynn refused, citing her busy schedule of studying and helping her father manage their laundry business at home. However, Grace's persistent pleas eventually wore her down, and Lynn reluctantly agreed. As the semester exams approached, the two found themselves facing a decisive moment. During the math exam, Lynn reassured Grace to stay calm, reminding her that they had already reviewed the questions in their lessons. Not wanting her close friend to struggle, Lynn took a bold risk. She wrote all the answers on an eraser, hid it in her shoe, and tossed it to Grace when the proctor wasn't looking. Eventually, Grace managed to score a 3.4 GPA, while Lynn excelled with a 4.2 GPA. They celebrated their success at Grace's grand and luxurious home. However, for Lynn, it wasn't particularly surprising, as most students at Exton Pacific came from wealthy and influential families. One of the students at Exton was Stone, the son of a renowned lawyer and one of the wealthiest men in America. Stone's father had extensive connections and seemingly endless wealth. His family's success created immense pressure for Stone to meet his father's expectations of attending a prestigious university. The next day, Grace brought Lynn to Stone's grand mansion with a specific purpose in mind: to seek help. Apparently, Grace, Stone, and 3 of their close friends were determined to get into top-tier universities. At that moment, Grace proposed an offer, promising to pay Lynn $200 per person for each exam. This meant Lynn could potentially earn up to $12,000 in a year if she agreed to assist them. With that income, Lynn could easily pursue her dream of studying at Juilliard, the world's most prestigious art school. Among the other students at Exton was Adedamala, a peer whose intelligence almost rivaled Lynn's. Although Adedamala's abilities were still far behind Lynn's, he was regarded as the second smartest student on campus. Known for his solitary nature and occasionally unpleasant demeanor, Adedamala left an impression when Lynn tried to interact with him, only to be met with his cold response. At home, Lynn found herself in a heated debate with her father over why he had purchased an expensive facial cream worth millions at a campus exhibition. Lynn firmly expressed her views, pointing out that while wealthy families might afford such luxuries, theirs was a modest family. She argued that there was no need to spend such an exorbitant amount on items she deemed unnecessary. With patience, Lynn's father explained that he had not wanted to buy the cream either. However, he felt that if the purchase could elevate the family's social status, especially for Lynn, who was attending such a prestigious university, he was willing to make the sacrifice. He believed that by doing so, Lynn would not be looked down upon by her peers. After losing the argument, Lynn turned to her piano, reminiscing about the time she shared with her late mother. As she played a few keys, an idea struck her. She could help her friends during exams by using piano rhythm patterns as codes for the answers they needed. The next day, Lynn introduced the method to her friends. The 6 of them agreed to the plan, as it was simple yet clever enough to avoid suspicion from the exam proctors. Unexpectedly, the plan worked flawlessly. Stone earned a brand new car, as promised by his father, while Lynn received a significant amount of money for her help. One day, Lynn and Adidamila were summoned by the dean. At that moment, the dean informed them that they would compete for a scholarship sponsored by a prominent female donor of Exton University. The donor wanted to interview the 2 smartest students who would face off for the scholarship. After returning home, Adidamila encountered a group of thugs lounging outside his mother's shop. Not wanting any trouble that might harm the shop, Adidamila tried to politely ask them to leave. When they ignored him, he pretended to call the police, prompting the thugs to flee. The next day, at campus, Adidamila received an offer from one of Stone's close friends. The student promised to pay him $300 if he would provide answers during an exam that day. Upholding his principles of honesty, Adidamila refused the offer and chose to remain in solitude, as was his habit. Even though he needed the money, Adidamila valued his scholarship far more, knowing it was worth much more than $300. As the exam began and the students started answering questions, Adidamila noticed something unusual. There were 2 different versions of the test papers. Curious, Adidamila asked the proctor, who explained that the school had deliberately prepared 2 sets of questions to address concerns over identical answers in previous exams. This revelation shocked everyone in the room, especially Lynn, whose anxiety quickly escalated compared to the others. Having already received payment in advance, Lynn had to find a solution within the limited time available. Using all her skills, Lynn attempted to complete both versions of the test simultaneously. She referred to her friend's test paper as a guide and quickly filled in the second version. Despite being scolded by the proctor for taking too long, Lynn managed to finish the task. Later, while celebrating their success in the exam, Lynn and her friends, including those who had earlier attempted to bribe Adidamila, were summoned by the dean. The summons came after Adidamila reported instances of cheating he observed during the exam. Initially, the dean did not suspect Lynn, but things took a turn when 2 sets of scratch notes with Lynn's name were discovered among the test papers. This led to a disciplinary hearing, and even Lynn's father was called to take responsibility for her actions. When Lynn's father arrived at the campus, the dean explained the entire situation based on Lynn's confession. At that moment, Lynn's father apologized to the dean and pleaded for his daughter not to be expelled. The dean eventually offered a second chance, with the condition that Lynn's scholarship would be revoked and she would no longer be allowed to participate in the special programs previously offered. Hearing this decision, Lynn became furious, in stark contrast to her father, who was immensely grateful for the second chance. Lynn's father also apologized for her behavior, which he deemed overly disrespectful and ungrateful. At home, Lynn clashed with her father, arguing that her actions in helping her friends were justified because she hoped it would help her achieve her dream of studying abroad. Hearing this, her father grew furious and delivered a sharp reprimand, his words piercing deeply. As a child who respected her father, Lynn listened quietly and began to recognize the truth in his words. Following this incident, Lynn decided to bury her dreams deeply. She stopped communicating with her friends until the final semester, occasionally glancing at their social media profiles when she felt nostalgic about their shared memories. After a long period of silence, Lynn received a call from Grace, inviting her to dinner with Stone's family. During the dinner, the conversation turned to the Scholastic Aptitude Test, or SAT, a standardized exam required for university admissions abroad. Stone's father expressed his desire for his son to pass the SAT and attend Columbia University, his alma mater. Listening intently to Stone's father, Lynn declined the offer, choosing instead to focus on her graduation exams. However, Stone's father tried to entice Lynn by offering easy access to Juilliard University, her dream school, if she helped Stone succeed in the SAT. Grace supported this idea and urged Lynn to agree, painting a picture of them living together in New York, where Lynn could finally achieve her dreams. While watching a news segment about time differences, Lynn realized that the SAT exam in Philadelphia started 3 hours earlier than in other locations. With this in mind, she devised a plan. She could take the test in Philadelphia first, memorize the answers, and send them to Stone's exam location before his test began. After conducting some research, Lynn discovered that the SAT questions had remained unchanged for the past 3 years, convincing her that this plan could succeed without raising suspicion. As part of the agreement, Lynn demanded that Grace and Stone provide $180,000 to cover her tuition at Juilliard, along with an additional $70,000 to help her father pay off his debts. Lynn planned to memorize half of the 150 SAT questions and sought Adidamala's assistance to handle the remaining half. Meanwhile, Adidamala was on his way home, pushing his bicycle, when he was ambushed by the thugs he had previously driven away. They had been waiting for him on a dark street and attacked him. Not only was Adidamala injured, but he also lost his bicycle and was forced to walk home. Several days later, the SAT planning sessions became more serious. Lynn proposed involving 30 test takers, charging $12,000 per person. This figure was set to minimize the risk of detectable cheating. With the help of their individual networks, they successfully recruited 30 participants. To ensure the plan's success, Lynn came up with a unique method. She designed cheat sheets in the form of barcodes engraved on pencils. The largest bar represented the letter A, while smaller bars represented the other letters up to D. This system was cleverly devised to blend in during the exam, which only allowed pencils, erasers, and calculators. Additionally, Lynn requested 2 specially encrypted phones for secure communication, ensuring the operation could proceed smoothly. One day, Lynn approached Adidamala to invite him to join the SAT mission, offering him a substantial reward. However, Adidamala declined, stating he did not want to get involved in the affairs of wealthy people. Despite his refusal, Lynn left him a business card for the printing service, hoping he would reconsider. As Lynn had anticipated, Adidamala eventually showed up at their headquarters to join the mission. Even before taking a seat, Adidamala suggested creating fake identities using their real school names to protect themselves if the plan failed. Once the identity issue was resolved, Lynn and Adidamala divided tasks, focusing on memorizing answers, practicing problem solving, and strategizing on how to transmit answers quickly. One of their biggest challenges was figuring out how to leave the exam room without drawing attention, as finishing early didn't necessarily mean they could exit without scrutiny. Lynn also instructed all team members to rehearse dramatic scenarios as a precaution in case they were caught. Tensions rose when Lynn asked Stone to pretend to insult Adidamala as part of their practice. At first, Adidamala tolerated the harsh remarks, even as Stone spoke in an unnecessarily offensive tone. However, when Stone made a derogatory comment about garbage, Adidamala felt humiliated and trapped. Filled with anger, Adidamala stormed out, deciding to quit the team. Frustrated with her teammates' behavior, Lynn followed Adidamala to apologize. She also instructed Grace to return all the money they had collected, believing the plan was doomed after Stone's foolish actions. But before Lynn could completely abandon the plan, Adidamala, who was walking home, decided to turn back. Unwilling to let all their efforts go to waste, Adidamala convinced Lynn to continue with the mission. Before proceeding, Lynn and Adidamala had a thorough discussion to ensure they were fully aligned moving forward. Upon arriving in Philadelphia, Adidamala asked Lynn why she was willing to take on this job. In response, Lynn showed him a photo that revealed the true reason behind their journey. She explained that her late mother had taught her how to play the piano. Her mother had dreamed of becoming a musician, but due to financial hardships, she had to bury her aspirations and work in a factory to secure her child's future. As Lynn shared her story, Stone called to check on Lynn and Adidamala regarding their preparations for the exam the following day. However, Lynn brought troubling news. Their exam location had suddenly been moved to a site with far stricter security, forcing them to make drastic changes to their plan. The next day, the exam committee announced last-minute changes to the rules. The test takers were split into 2 groups and placed in separate rooms. This adjustment was made due to suspicions of irregularities among certain registrants, raising concerns about potential cheating. After their identities were verified, Lynn and Adamala hid their phones inside the water tank of a toilet, planning to retrieve them after the test. During the reading exam, they completed their tasks with ease. Adamala, noticing that Lynn had been assigned significantly more questions than he had, demanded additional payment if Stone wanted those answers. This incident caused Lynn to question his loyalty and consider handling everything on her own as a precaution against any further careless actions that could jeopardize their mission. Following the second test, they ran into a problem. Lynn had to wait in line for the restroom, while Adamala was caught by the exam committee for being careless during a bathroom inspection. Panic set in for Lynn as she saw Adamala caught red-handed. Since she hadn't yet hidden her phone, Lynn quickly concealed it inside a dispenser. During the math exam, overwhelmed by anxiety, Lynn pushed herself to memorize over 50 key answers. She almost fainted from overexerting her mind, but she recalled the piano techniques her mother had once taught her. These methods helped her perfectly retain the answers. To leave the room early, Lynn used a trick Adamala had taught her, tapping her pencil against her mouth in a specific way until she succeeded. Once she exited the exam room, Lynn quickly retrieved her phone and escaped with Adamala, each taking separate escape routes. While running, Lynn stumbled at a red light, distracted by the answer she had yet to send, unaware of the oncoming traffic. The tension finally subsided when Adamala threw the answers onto the side of the road, ensuring that no evidence was left behind. After the victory celebration ended, Grace informed Lynn that they would be taking a year-long vacation in Colombia. This vacation would disrupt Lynn's plans to move to New York and continue her studies at Juilliard University. They dismissed Lynn's efforts during the SAT, suggesting she could retake the exam next year with even more participants. Hearing this, Lynn immediately walked away, followed by Adamala, who felt hurt and discarded like an object no longer needed. Still consumed by sadness, Lynn arrived home, unable to gather the courage to face her father. However, when she heard the news that the SAT exam would be retaken, she was shocked and filled with regret for the grave mistake she had made. Her father's words echoed in her mind when he said that those who bear the heaviest losses are always the ones who suffer the most. Filled with guilt, Lynn deeply regrets her actions, knowing that they have caused harm to others. The next day, Lynn went to see Adamala, proposing that they confess their cheating. Lynn hoped that their admission would prevent the need for a second exam, sparing others from unnecessary consequences. However, Adamala revealed that he was living in the United States illegally and lacked proper documentation. If he confessed, it would likely lead to his family being deported. Back at home, Lynn broke down in tears, lamenting her wrongdoing. She finally confessed to her father about the cheating incident in Philadelphia. To her surprise, her father didn't scold her. Instead, he apologized for being too harsh and for failing to listen to what she truly wanted in life. A few days later, Lynn visited Stone's father to seek help for the participants who were now required to retake the SAT. Lynn firmly stated that the entire ordeal was Stone's fault for pressuring her into cheating. She explained that both she and Adamala had been coerced into carrying out Stone's plans. She even revealed that Adamala had been treated cruelly, with Stone hiring thugs to assault him. As evidence, Lynn presented messages exchanged with Stone and proof of the financial transactions he had made with the hired thugs. She also outlined the amount Stone's father needed to pay and provided a document to help resolve Adamala's immigration issues. As Lynn left the office, Stone's father, recognizing her brilliance and sincerity, offered her a job, hoping she would work for him after graduating. Lynn left the room with a satisfied smile, feeling, for the first time in her life, that she had made a meaningful difference for others. The end. Moral lesson from the story: cheating on exams might get you quick cash and some friends, but it could also get you stuck explaining why your pencils look like they belong in a supermarket scanner. Sometimes, trying to help everyone makes you the villain of your own story, especially when barcodes and toilet tanks are involved in your master plan.